Could we see Metroid Prime 4 in 2022? Metroid is a series that has undergone some of the most changes of any game series. One day, it's a 2D side-scroller. The next, it's a first-person shooter. Today, we'll be using the series' history to determine the foggy future of Metroid's next entry. To figure out when Metroid Prime 4 might release, we need to first take a look back at the history of Metroid's release schedule. Let's take this back to the first E3 of the Nintendo Switch, all the way back in 2017. Nintendo had their usual pre-recorded presentation, and it's pretty good so far. Announcements of a new Kirby game, Xenoblade 2, and news that a main series Pokemon game is in the works for the Switch. Then, out of nowhere, we see a big 4 slowly rise onto the screen, and behind it, the slight hint of the screw attack icon. It's official. Metroid Prime 4 is now in development for Nintendo Switch. The internet absolutely exploded. Remember, this was in 2017. The latest Metroid-related content to have been released was Federation Forces, which was hated for being a spin-off amongst a long Metroid drought. But now the years of waiting have finally come to an end. The year is 2017, and Metroid Prime 4 is coming out soon. Right? Well, we'll get to that later. The teaser trailer for Prime 4 was followed by a Treehouse showcase featuring a remake of Metroid 2, scheduled to release on the 3DS that September. Things seemed great for Metroid fans. However, the honeymoon phase didn't last long. Not long at all. Later the same day, Bill Trinen shared some disturbing news with the fanbase. We learned that Retro Studios, who developed the original Metroid Prime trilogy, weren't actually the ones working on Prime 4. Instead, series producer Kensuke Tanabe was said to lead the project alongside a talented new development team. If that wasn't an early sign of a troubled development cycle, then I don't know what is. This tiny bit of info would be all we get for the remainder of 2017. Now the sponsor of today's video, Southern New Hampshire University, is here to ask you a big question. Have you ever thought about creating your own video game? I know I have. I'd love to make a small kingdom fantasy game where you explore a dense kingdom and defeat dragons with a magic wand like in LEGO Harry Potter. If only I were capable of making such a game. But wait, what if you had the knowledge and experience to make your game a reality and turn it into an actual career with opportunities for growth? If that sounds exciting, then let me tell you about Southern New Hampshire University, which has one of the largest accredited nonprofit online degree offerings in the country. They feature over 200 degree programs focused on getting you started in or advancing in a career that you'll love. In SNHU's game development program, you'll learn how to create realistic, dynamic gameplay experiences with game AI, game physics, 2D and 3D graphics, and interface design. You'll also learn computer programming languages like C++, C#, and Java. And you'll learn 3D modeling and texturing with game art software. Courses are taught by industry experts who will teach you how to research, develop, and contribute to advances and trends within the field of game programming. All of SNHU's programs are extremely flexible. There's no set class times, allowing you to work when and where you want. If you already have college credits, you don't have to start over. SNHU will let you transfer up to 90 credits toward your bachelor's degree and up to 12 credits toward your master's. So if you have a 9 to 5 you hate and want to make the switch to a career in game dev, go to https://snhu.edu/game domain. Also linked in my description. Thank you once again to Southern New Hampshire University for the sponsorship. Let's get back to the video. It wasn't until February 2018 that the words Metroid Prime 4 were uttered again. This time, it was Eurogamer that stepped up with an interesting tidbit about the elusive game. We learned that the team behind Metroid Prime 4 would be Bandai Namco Singapore, once again reconfirming that Retro Studios was nowhere in sight. The story of how Eurogamer discovered this is a bit of a funny one. Within Bandai were ex-workers at LucasArts Singapore. Turns out, these workers previously worked on a canceled Star Wars 1313. Looking through their LinkedIn profile showed that they were working on an unannounced first-person shooter/adventure game for the Switch, aka Metroid Prime 4. Other devs would talk of working on an exciting, well-known unannounced IP. In July, Reggie would state that the game was well into development and proceeding well. And yet, Despite this, the game was nowhere to be seen during that year's E3 presentation. Trinan stated in an interview that they essentially wanted to wait until they had something that they knew would wow people. In November, Reggie would once again reinstate that the game's development was going well. So everything's going well, right? It's supposedly trucking along just fine, or at least that's what we thought at the time. It wasn't until early 2019 that we got some more Metroid news, and oh boy, was it some news. At first, it seemed exciting. A brand new video released by Nintendo about Metroid Prime? Let's see what it's called. Development update on Metroid Prime 4 for Nintendo Switch. I wonder, could we see a release date in this trailer? No. In fact, it's not a trailer at all. Quite the opposite. Shinya Takahashi, the Nintendo Entertainment and Development Planning Division Manager, is here to announce that Metroid Prime 4's development is restarting under Retro Studios. Wait, what? So apparently the development under Bandai Namco wasn't meeting Nintendo's standards. They were forced to bite the bullet and completely restart the project under the original studio. That was quite the bombshell at the time, especially since figureheads like Reggie and Bill were reassuring everyone that development for the game was going smoothly. So to hear that the whole project was scrapped and started anew is quite a lot to take in. On the bright side, at least Retro was back to develop the game, and at least Nintendo was hyper-focusing on quality, as usual. It's been 3 years since then. We haven't gotten any new news on the topic, except for a job posting by Retro in 2020. That begs the question, what's next for Metroid Prime? Could we see Metroid Prime 4 in 2022? What about the long-rumored Metroid Prime Trilogy? It's been 3 years since Metroid Prime 4's development started up again. To put that into perspective, Prime 2 was in development for 2 years, and Prime 3 took an additional 3 years to release. By that logic, Prime 4 should be right around the corner. Yet we haven't even seen gameplay footage since 2019. Why is that? One possibility is that Nintendo wants to leave time between Metroid Dread and Metroid Prime 4. If you didn't already know, we received a brand new 2D Metroid game back in 2021. Metroid Dread was a long-rumored sequel to Metroid Fusion that was finally revived and released on the Switch. Now, I'm not saying that Dread's existence doesn't in any way threaten Prime 4's, but it's entirely possible that Nintendo would wait a few years before releasing another big Metroid game. It's also possible that Metroid Prime 4 is still far from completion. Realize that they have to make many of their assets from scratch, add in the effects of the pandemic on game development, and it's easy to see why this game is yet to release. But there's one more exciting reason why we might not have any Metroid Prime 4 yet. It's the strong possibility that Nintendo plans on releasing the Metroid Prime Trilogy first. While this remaster hasn't been confirmed, it's been heavily rumored for a number of years now, and would just straight up make sense. Nintendo might need to buy themselves some time before the next new game, and so this would be a perfect move. Plus, it would get people excited about Metroid Prime again, which would boost the sales of Prime 4. It's safe to say that when Metroid Prime 4 does release, it will come jam-packed with the retro studio charm that we've been missing for too long. So what do you think? Could we see Metroid Prime 4 in 2022? What about the Metroid Prime trilogy? Let us know in the comments down below. This has been Brett from Game Domain. Thanks for watching.